I'm Colleen Flanagan, and I'm the host of Odd Talk, #OddTalk, a video chat and podcast series from the Auditorium Theater. Thanks to everyone for joining us this week, and we hope everyone is still staying safe and healthy. This week's chat is an exciting one. Our CEO, Rich Regan, is talking to the artistic director of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, Robert Battle. Enjoy.
All right, good morning, Robert Battle, and thank you for joining us on today's edition of Odd Talk.
Well, good morning, my pleasure.
So, really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us today. And the Auditorium's relationship with Ailey goes back for 50 years, and we're very glad that we can stay connected during this time.
Yeah.
So, Where would you be speaking to us from today?
I'm speaking to you from my little piano room, I call it my music room, at my kind of weekend home in Connecticut.
So you were able to leave the city, and you've been spending your time in Connecticut.
I have. I left in a hurry, as they say.
I imagine, leaving the city, your day-to-day routine has changed quite a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it definitely has for everybody. It's surreal. It's sad, obviously. And for performing artists and for the Ailey organization, where your bread and butter, if you will, is about being with community, about audiences, about classes full of people dancing together. It's not a solitary kind of thing. So, but for me, the routine that I've adapted to is doing interviews, making, I have to sort of be my own studio, television studio, sort of making, kind of little videos for our donors and for the dancers and for the audiences. And as you know, we started something called Ailey All Access. So the dancers are coming up with content to go online that's been really successful. So we vet a lot of that. It goes through a process that I kind of approve. And so it's interesting. And then I kind of converted my office that really was never an office, just by look alone, into a studio. So I have a little piece of Marley. All of the dancers have a little piece of Marley that the company got every dancer from Holoclean floors, so that we can kind of still be active. So it's interesting. I mean, I try to make a Costco run every now and then, but it feels like you're going into war with your battle gear, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting time, but it's also a time for reflection and introspection too.
It is, isn't it? And it's, none of us knew that we could do so much from a little corner of our house at this point, as we've been required to do.
Yes. And some of that will probably not completely go away in terms of having to be efficient about how to reach out and be creative.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the various content that you've been creating, that Ailey has been creating to keep fans engaged. We've in fact hosted watch parties to take advantage of some of that content, and it's been fantastic. My question is how have the dancers adapted to this?
Again, I keep going back to this because I know we realize that we're such a community-based venture, but it's only when you really can't be in close proximity or in the studio together that you realize how much time you really do spend together. And so I think we've gone through different stages, right? There was we were just there at the Auditorium in March. Unbelievable, with crowds of people and screaming audiences and fabulous dancing. And then they went on with the tour and then had to be brought off the road. So that's a bit of a shock, I think, for all of us. And then there's sadness, but then the dancers immediately started to adapt, which is what they do, is what artists do, great artists. But certainly my dancers, I mean, it is about adapting to different stages, different theaters, different countries. And so they did one little film that they did of each dancer in their different environments doing just the beginning of Revelations. I've been beauty, I've been scorned. And it got so many hits, it went viral, as they say, that kind of paved the way for Ailey All Access. And I feel that that gave them a sense of purpose, that they can still inspire. And not only, it's not only for the audiences or the people who view the content, but I think it's also for their spirit to feel whole, to feel that they can still be of service to the mission of the company and to their own internal need to connect and to elevate and inspire.
Mm-hmm. That program was so uplifting to see, and to see the dancers in their own environment and not in costume. And then all of a sudden, you know, I obviously can't portray this, but they would strike a move where it would trigger in my mind, oh, that's right. And I remember when that dancer danced it this way and they were in this costume. That was really uplifting to see, and where I know I speak for many that I'm just grateful that you put that out there.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You were personally selected by Miss Judith Jamison, who was personally selected by Alvin Ailey to lead the company as artistic director in 2011. Could you tell us about your career and how you came to lead the world-renowned company?
Yes, I'll do the 25-cent tour of my coming to be. But I grew up in Miami, Florida. Funny enough, I mean, this whole dance thing might have never happened because I was born completely bow-legged, as they say, and had to have braces put on at an early age, but it all got straightened out. Another no pun intended. And but I grew up in a household of music and of a feeling of the arts being integrated into everyday life, from going to church. My mother played for the church, played piano for the church. I ended up sort of being interested in studying piano, which I did. And she had a group called the Afro-Americans. It was a group of her and 4 of her friends, or 3, who did poetry and song related to the Black experience. So I would hear them singing spirituals, poetry by Langston Hughes or whomever, with Maya Angelou. So it was around me in this way. And so eventually, I mean, I was singing as well, and then I was taking martial arts because I was bullied a little bit. I'm from Liberty City in Miami. People probably know it from that movie, Oscar-winning movie Moonlight. But through that, I had an affection for dance. And eventually I started to take dance classes. And then I saw the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I mean, I knew about them. I'd seen them on videotape with teachers showing us Revelations and showing us. But they came to town, to Miami on tour, and I was bused along with a lot of young people, as we do at the Auditorium, to see a morning kind of mini performance. And it was like seeing a reflection of myself. It was everything that I knew, the spirituals, the tenacity of African Americans in this country, and how we overcame certain atrocities of hate through faith and hope, this universal message. And then to see people who look like me dancing unabashedly, gracefully on that stage. Eventually, I came to New York on a scholarship to Juilliard, and then I would sometimes study at the Ailey School in the summer. Eventually danced with a small company here when I graduated, Parsons Dance Company, and started to make dances on that company while I was there as a dancer. And that grew to the second company, starting to do some of my works. That was around 1999. And then that grew to Judith Jamison commissioning me to do work for the company in 2003, and subsequently other works. And we just had this wonderful relationship. And when she decided in 2010 that she would glissade, we don't say step down, just move a little to the side, she chose me April 28th. I remember like it was yesterday. There was a process, but she chose me to be only the third artistic director. And knowing how important that was for her, as Alvin Ailey asked her when he knew he was dying, I knew what that meant for her to bestow that on someone else, namely me. So I was kind of reduced to that kid, you know, sort of seeing them for the first time live in Miami. I remember that feeling when she told me. It was amazing.
It's, as you tell the story, I get so excited for you in that process.
Yeah.
And then I try and project myself into your position, and I think the gravity of it in the moment. I personally, just because obviously I'm not a dancer, but I respect it so much. I feel like, wow, that must have been an incredible feeling in that time, and such a purpose of responsibility at that point.
Yeah, it really was. It was both euphoric and heavy at the same time. I mean, I remember feeling those two things when she said, "It's yours." Those are the words that she used, and it went, whoa! It's like breathing some other life into you. I don't know how to even describe it, but here we are.
Incredible. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about the dancing, obviously, and and since you've taken on the role of artistic director, you've expanded the Ailey rep with a very diverse array of works, including your own works.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of the history of the company and what your vision for the future is?
Yes. Alvin Ailey founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in 1958. He founded it because he didn't see enough of the opportunities for dancers of color on the concert dance stage. And that was on the precipice of the civil rights movement. So there was a lot going on in terms of social justice. And this, in a way, is a part of that. That was the backdrop of why this company was started in the first place. And then in 1960, he created Revelations, which is a masterpiece by any measure, but it was a personal expression for him of his people and how they faced segregation, denigration, hate. And he had the audacity at a time when one could completely understand why he would have been angry, or he would have expressed something not a little bit more cynical about humanity. But it ends with a message of hope. And I think it's amazing that dance has sort of transcended place and time and circumstance. No matter who you are, whether you are religious or not, that people have a kind of spiritual experience seeing that dance. And so he made one of the first repertory companies as well. So it wouldn't just be his choreography, one of the first modern dance repertory companies. So bringing in other choreographers, I think that's what's kept the company fresh, is that you can see on one program, you can see somebody who's sort of a historical dance maker from the beginnings of modern dance to somebody who's just starting in their career and starting to make work. And so it keeps it interesting. And so Judith Jamison took over when he died, in 1989. And then she led the company for 21 years. And then she chose me in 2010 officially. I took over in 2011. So it's amazing. It just keeps going on. It's one of the most popular companies in the world and one of the most successful. And to think of where it started by this Black man in this country, of just having a vision and a dream and having the courage to stick his neck out and his arms and his legs and whatever else. And now we're just a part of this continuum. We're a part of this amazing horizon. And so it's, I think when we're thinking about where we are right now, that even in the depths of despair, sometimes something beautiful can come out of that can last a lifetime and be a lifetime of inspiration.
Mm-hmm. And it's when you describe the message of hope in Revelations, that feels to me like that has to be one of the primary reasons that it's lasted 60 years and it's just as popular as ever, if not more. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. I can't imagine a time. I don't mean it that way, but I mean it in terms of what it's going to mean after we get through this, because we will, to be in the auditorium, right, the Auditorium Theater, where we have so many devout fans, and that humming from the beginning of Revelation starts, and what that's going to mean when we're all together again in the theater. I mean, it's amazing. I think it speaks to today.
You mentioned Ailey All Access,
Yeah.
and we think about ways that we can continue to engage our patrons. And when I say our patrons, I mean the auditorium patrons and Ailey patrons. And so, are there other ways that Alvin Ailey, the company, is sort of taking steps beyond Ailey All Access to keep their patrons engaged?
Yes, I mean, certainly we Ailey All Access is a huge part of it, because it is not just the wonderful content that the dancers are putting out, and the streaming of whole ballets that you can see that usually start Thursday and they stay online for a time, and then another one the next week. And we try with that to have special things that maybe you wouldn't be privy to, conversations with the choreographers or the composers or what have you. And then we have something called Dancer Diaries. That's another thing that wouldn't necessarily happen, but we're being creative, and the dancers, a one-on-one conversation that you can see them really talk about who they are. Because I think people who come to see the company, they don't just see an Ailey performance, they feel it, and they feel like they know the dancers and want to know more about the artists on stage. We do, and the Ailey organization is huge, because we have our junior company, Ailey 2. We have a vast Ailey school. So they have classes going on, online classes. We have the Ailey Extension, which is classes for everybody, which we have online so that people in the privacy of your home. So if you feel like you're not really good at West African, close the drapes, nobody needs to know. Just enjoy it. So there's a lot going on to make sure that we're meeting our mission to provide dance to as wide of an audience as possible. I mean, Alvin Ailey said it best. He didn't say it to mean only in the best of times, when everything is just perfect. He said dance came from the people and should always be delivered back to the people. And so that is our core. And in times like these, we need to lean in to who we are and give back to the audiences and communities that we serve. And so we are happy to do that.
And that is, in fact, I feel like what keeps you hopeful and motivated during this time.
Yes, it does. It does give me a sense that, and giving everyone a sense that we have to embrace our common humanity, even with all of the discord. You know, I'm not just pie in the sky. I know what's going on in terms of that discord, but I think that there is a higher place where our future will manifest itself in lessons learned if we take the time to listen and not just get distracted by some of the things that threaten to take us backwards.
So well put. So well put. So I have one more question for you, and it's a question that we've asked a few times to friends of the auditorium, as this is our 130th anniversary season. What, if you could pick one single favorite memory of your time at the Auditorium Theater, what might that be?
Wow. Gosh, there's so many, I have to say. I'm not just saying that. It would have to be when I was first introduced to the audience by Judith Jamison. You know, the sort of year before I took over, you know, we were going to, especially the special places and special theaters that had really special relationships with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and she would speak from the stage and then bring me on. There's something about being in that theater, the Auditorium Theater, with such history that it's in the walls, it's in the whole feeling about it is a kind of spiritual and, you know, physiological thing that it's alive. The auditorium is alive. And so, but also just knowing how many people have sat in those audiences and sat in those seats in the house and looked at these wonderful performances. And then here I am on the stage that those performances happen with one of the most important companies in the world. And there is the legendary Judith Jamison in this space saying, Robert Battle, our next artistic director, or whatever. It was an incredible moment. You can't really, I hate the use of this word, but you really can't trump that, right? It was really amazing.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Robert Battle, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you joining us here.
No, thank you so much. And here's to another 130 years.
Indeed, we'll take that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What an amazing conversation. Thank you so much to Mr. Battle for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you. We will be doing Odd Talk throughout the summer, and we also have a series at home with the Auditorium Theater. This Sunday at 6 p.m., it's a live performance from Harmony, Hope, and Healing. This is an amazing organization that the Auditorium Theater has partnered with for many, many years, and they'll be hosting a family sing-along, so we hope that you all will join us on Sunday. Thank you, stay safe, and have a great week. Bye-bye.